I can't help but to talk about other wrestling deaths. Man, I'm not trying to be funny, but wow, this show really is kind of sad if you think about it. Talk about wrestling deaths, but
Well, I remember one of the ones that bothered me from my childhood was the Owen Hart and Brian Pillman.
oh yeah,
Those were the Owen Hart one. I actually cried when Owen Hart died.
yeah.
He was one of my favorites at the time. And I was like a lot younger. I was like probably 6. I forget what year it happened, but I just remember when they showed that Raw and they showed Jeff Jarrett crying during that Raw of him, and I was like, I cried along with Jeff Jarrett because it was so sad because Owen Hart really sounded like a great guy. And the worst thing about him is he didn't die from drugs or anything like that. He died because he fell off that thing on that pay-per-view.
Yeah, the bungee cord.
Yeah.
And I watched that pay-per-view live. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, so you got to see him die? No, they did not show it on pay-per-view. I don't think it was ever recorded, ever. I don't think.
Because what happened was is as soon as he fell, the cameras cut away. They knew something bad had happened. They cut away immediately, and they didn't show it.
Well, see, when JR first announced it, what happened was they were showing the graphic of Godfather and the Blue Blazer, like, coming up next, Godfather versus Blue Blazer, and they showed the graphic right there, and then you could hear the crowd go, oh, like something happened. And then JR goes, something terrible's happened. And then they cut away to a video package of the feud between Blue Blazer and Godfather. Then they cut back to the arena, and the camera kept on panning around the crowd, and back to JR. Jerry Lawler is in the ring, tended to Owen Hart along with everybody else. JR, and at first I thought it was like part of the storyline. When they said Owen Hart fell from the top of the arena, I was laughing because I thought that was part of the storyline because the Blue Blazer was a clumsy, goofy gimmick, you know. Then JR kept on saying, eventually, I mean, sometimes wrestling is real. Some things go wrong, especially on live TV. And JR kept on saying, this is not an angle. This is not a storyline. Owen Hart, the Blue Blazer, fell down from the top of the arena, landed on the turnbuckle, hit sternum first, and then landed in the ring. And then they continued on with the pay-per-view. Then that's when JR announced that he died. And, that was, to me, the biggest tragedy in wrestling history until the Benoit family tragedy.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one.
I mean, that was, I was kind of crying, too, the next day in school, thinking about it, and then watching the show. I still got that show recorded on VHS to this day.
My cousin showed it to me, like a month after it happened. I was in California visiting him, and he showed me the pay-per-view it happened, and it was just like a surreal moment. It was like, wow, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah. It was so surreal the next day and the day after. I'm like, I can't believe, And then what makes it worse is he has a family, his wife and 2 kids, real young at the time, real little. And then he seemed, I didn't know anything about Owen Hart behind the scenes, and then until he died. This past May 23rd was 10 years, as a matter of fact, he died.
Also about Owen Hart, just a couple added extra things about him. Owen, he has he's in that new, it's a wrestling DVD, the Greatest Stars of the 90s. They have a whole segment dedicated to him. So I'm just saying that for anyone who wants to go back and visit Owen Hart. Also, another cool thing about Owen Hart I found was, shoot, I had it in my head, now it's lost. But, yeah, he was a real good family man. Oh, and he was going, and see, what was sad about that is, Owen Hart was supposed to get the Intercontinental Championship that night. I think Godfather had it at the time. He was either supposed to get it or lose it. I forget. He had the title or whatever. And then at the pay-per-view, ongoing pay-per-view, the next one was going to be King of the Ring. He was supposed to win King of the Ring, be the first ever 2-time King of the Ring holder. Then he was supposed to go on and win the World Championship. That was the storyline set for Owen Hart. And Owen Hart died right before he had a chance to go win the World Championship.
Wow, I didn't hear about all that. I just heard about him supposed to win the Intercontinental belt the night he died.
Yeah, and then he was supposed to win the Intercontinental belt, then the King of the Ring, and then go on and become world champion.
Yeah, and I heard he's going to retire in about a year.
I didn't know about him retiring, but I know they were going to give him a world title run.
Yeah, that makes it even more sad now. I didn't know about all that. But and then I remember in 2007, January, February, and March, 3 months straight. First January, I believe it was Bam Bam Bigelow who passed away. I still to this day do not know the cause of death. Do you?
No, I don't. I miss Bam Bam though. He was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, but it was like, I don't think they said anything on that.
I'm sure they did. I don't. PW Insider is one of the best sites, in my opinion, on the internet for wrestling news, and I'm sure they got it a long time ago. I just didn't check or find out. The next month, February '07, Mike Awesome hung himself, and that was sad. He was one of my favorites in ECW. And that night, he was supposed to go hang out with his friends. And then when his friends went to go pick him up, and they went in the house, they found him hung. And I heard he had recently gone through a divorce and everything, and so I think his life was just really messed up, and he just couldn't take it no more. Then the very next month, Bad News Brown passed away, and he died of natural causes, or he died of a heart attack. He was 60-something years old.
Yeah, I knew he had gone up there in age.
And I was like, don't tell me wrestlers are going to die every month this year. Because that was the third straight month that a wrestler died. Then, okay, March, April, May, nobody died. Then June, you had Sensational Sherry, who's a part of my childhood. I watched her when I was a kid. Then she was inducted to the Hall of Fame, I think, a year before that.
I know.
And then, about a week or two later, Benoit, the Benoit family tragedy happened. Then, I don't know about July, then August, Brian Adams, I believe, passed away. And other wrestlers from my childhood that passed away, the Big Boss Man, Road Warrior Hawk. What was that?
Andre the Giant.
Yeah, he passed away in '93. Boss Man passed away in September '04. Road Warrior Hawk passed away in September '03. And here's one that really got me. Eddie Guerrero passed away in November '05. I remember coming home from work. Yeah, again, coming home from work, find out a wrestler died. And Eddie Guerrero, then 2007, I come home from work, find out Benoit died. And what's ironic about that is those two are one of my favorites of all time, and they were best friends with each other, I believe. I know they were good friends, at least. And Benoit was crying his eyes out when he sat down and talked about Eddie Guerrero on the tribute show. And my friend Lewis, who's a big Eddie Guerrero fan, was saying, I think when Eddie Guerrero died, Benoit's life just went downhill or got even worse for him.
Well, one thing with Eddie Guerrero, someone said that one thing Benoit used to do is he kept this journal. In each journal, he would say, "Dear Eddie," and he would write to Eddie every day after Eddie had passed away. He would write these like letters of things he would tell Eddie Guerrero if he was still alive.
Yeah. So yeah, that really hurt. Just like Owen Hart's death really hurt Jeff Jarrett, Guerrero's death really hurt Benoit. And I'm trying to think. Mr. Perfect passed away, and what was it in 2002? I know that for sure. The British Bulldog passed away in 2002. That's all. Brian Pillman passed away in, I think, October. Yeah, Brian Pillman passed away on Swindoll's birthday on Sunday, October 5th, 1997. Brian Pillman was supposed to wrestle at the Bad Blood pay-per-view against Goldust.
Yeah.
The same day Kane made his debut.
Yeah.
And that was the first wrestling death that I dealt with, as a wrestling fan all my life. Brian Pillman passed away. Then 2 years later, I believe it was, I think a year later, it was Louis Piccoli that passed away. But I wasn't really familiar with him.
Well, the first big one for me was Andre the Giant back in the early 90s. Because I had become a wrestling fan, right a couple, months before he died. I started really keeping up with wrestling, and then, they said Andre the Giant died. I was like, oh. And I had I've been watching it in the 80s, but it wasn't like watching it majorly, but I knew who Andre the Giant was. I knew about his feud with Hulk Hogan and everything, and hearing that he had already passed away was kind of sad.
Yeah.
But they said he passed away a couple days after his father died.
Yeah.
And that was just too much of a strain on him, and that would cause him to die, too.
Yeah, he was attending his father's funeral, but I think I heard one of the reasons why he died was he was so big, his body was not able to contain his bones could not hold up his body or something like that. It's something that real giant men have to deal with. It's some sort of physical disability, because if you notice, Andre the Giant became more immobile as he got older in wrestling, and he would come out in a wheelchair or something, or walkers.
Oh, you know what? We're looking over one of the biggest wrestling deaths for me, Yokozuna. He passed away.
Yeah, that's right. He did pass away.
I got another one.
Who?
Captain Lou Albano.
When did he die?
A long time ago.
I don't think I heard about that.
I don't.
Yeah, he died a long, long time ago.
It had to be at least maybe '06 or somewhere around there, because it was a few years
Well,
ago.
he was in like one of the recent. Well, I don't know how recent it was, but